If you guys don't know who this gentleman here is, right on. Thank you for the text. I appreciate that. This is Tennessee Brando here. I know a lot of people have been waiting when they heard that you were going to be live because you have a lot of fans. I think that we have a lot of mutual people that follow us because we kind of chew on some of the same dirt.
Yeah.
The purpose of these lives is to kind of just, they're not always going to be political, but these first few ones are political. And the purpose of these first few lives is to kind of have a conversation to figure out where the hell we are as a country.
Yeah.
And what the hell we need to do as a country in order to fix it. We are 9 months away from an election, which means we're 9 months away from the ability to stop an agenda or to kind of slow down an agenda at the very least. So the first thing I'd like to ask you, I got no notes, it's just stuff off the top of my head, is so you live in Appalachia, in the Appalachian region.
Yeah.
How have Trump's policies affected, in either way, positive or negative, the area that you live in, which I think has been under political siege from both parties for probably 50 years?
Yeah, man. It's, the thing here where I'm at, especially, it's extremely Bible Belt here. And it's really Bible Belt where I'm at. It's blood red. And over the years, I've just seen people in these parts get so caught up in the culture wars of it all, and the religion of it all. They really get caught up in all of that. That for years they've been voting against their own interests. That's been going on for as long as I've been alive. But once Trump come along, he really seemed to resonate with people around here, and it's always kind of baffled me, to tell you the truth, because I mean, he's got nothing in common with any of us. But it's just one of those things where he resonated with people because they felt for so long that the Democrats left him behind. And he caught on, and then it's one of those things that the more he caught on, the harder it was to pull the reins back and say, "Hey, wait a minute, everybody, wake up! What the hell's going on?" So it's really it's when I travel around the country and see other places, I'm kind of mind blown when I get out when I get out of here, because it's so over the top Bible Belt where I'm at.
Do you think it was more of a he resonated with people, or more of they just really disliked the opposition that much?
I think a whole lot of it had to do with disliking the opposition and buying into this narrative that Democrats are the devil. Because it definitely weighs in the churches. The churches play a huge part in that around here. I mean, ministers, right from the pulpit, they preach that Democrats are the devil. Every church I've ever went to, the Southern Baptist, my family growing up was Southern Baptist and Pentecostal, so I kind of went to both churches, depending on which side of the family I visited. And that was something I heard preached as far back as the '80s, man. Back when Reagan was in office, I was hearing them talk about the Democrats being so evil. And then, when Clinton came along, every minister in this part was preaching about how immoral he was, and you just heard so much about the Clintons. There was so much hatred there, then so much hatred for Obama. So I feel like that he did resonate, but I also think, like you said, I think that's a fair point, that it probably was more just their hatred for the opposition. And then I think that's what got so many of them fired up about it, because they thought he was going to finally be the guy that would do something about it.
You see, and what I find kind of, I guess, ironic about what you're talking about is, so my father's family comes from southern Indiana. It's a coal mine area. My high school mine, we were the miners, and you either worked fast food or you worked in the coal mine. You worked for Peabody Coal Mine. And eons and eons ago, they were all Kennedy Democrats.
Yeah.
They were all They all voted blue, and they all voted for people like Kennedy. And then all of a sudden, like you said, Bill Clinton comes along and there's an immoralness to it. I mean, Kennedy was fucking around with Marilyn Monroe and half the women out there, but all of a sudden, Bill Clinton is immoral.
Mm-hmm.
And then you fast forward to 2016, and all of a sudden, the guy who's got 5 children by 3 wives and who's screwed around on every one of them, he's the moral compass. I don't understand that attraction. I don't. And listen, I grew up poor. And I don't understand anybody that grew up poor or that lives at or below the poverty line ever being able to resonate with a guy who shits on a gold toilet and bankrupts businesses.
Yeah. I feel the same way, man. And it was so crazy to me, honestly. Like, When Trump came along and 2015, 16, when he's running and everything's heating up and he's saying all the over the top controversial stuff, the grab him by the what and all that. I just remember sitting back at that point because I'll be honest with you, I'll admit that back in the '90s, I watched Howard Stern late at night. He would come on like E Entertainment. I watched that. Trump was on there all the time, so we all knew what kind of guy Trump was.
Yeah.
It's like we knew what he was. He had already said these things, and so I just remember when everything started heating up and he made those comments, I started looking at ministers in my part of the world going, wait a minute. Now, I know you all was so hard on Bill Clinton about these things. Surely you won't roll with this guy. And that was one of the most baffling things to me is watching them just roll with him. That's where it just really, I'm pretty much agnostic and have been for a long time, but that one is what really just kind of helped push it on over the top for me. It was like, how can you line up behind this after all the sermons I heard you give growing up against Democrats and against Clinton?
And I'm guessing abortion plays a big role in your part of the country as well,
Oh,
doesn't it?
huge, man, huge. Yeah, right, not far from where I live, man. Everywhere you go around here, there's crosses. Jesus is coming soon. Are you ready? That type of thing. But there's literally a church not far, probably 10 minutes from where I'm sitting. They've got little miniature crosses out in the yard, like a little graveyard, and they've
Yeah.
got this big billboard that talks about all the abortion deaths. So yeah, that's a huge one and has been as far back as whenever since I was a kid.
Which leads me to the next baffling connection is how do they still back a guy who has so many credible allegations, who's all over the files? And we're going to talk about the country in general, but I'm talking about people in your part of the world, people in southern Indiana, where my family's from. They always talk about we should be hunting down the pedophiles and shoot your local pedophile and all of this stuff. And then when it comes to this guy, it's like, oh, it's all got to be fake news.
Yeah. Man, I don't get it. This is the one I made a video earlier. It's going to come out tomorrow, but I made a video talking about this very thing, and I was like, this should have been the moment where we should have came together with them. I mean, they kind of had it right in a way. I mean, they were talking about all of the Epstein things going on. They just kind of had some of the characters crossed up, But I mean, this is one of those moments where I know this is the first time you and I are talking, but I've been following your content for so long that I feel like I know you. And I just feel like that if you and I had sit here in our chairs and went to bat so hard for something, and then suddenly it was looking like it was our guy, I'm pretty sure we would be raising our hand going, hold on, wait a minute. This is
Right.
bullshit. We'd be calling it out because it's to me, it's not about Democrat versus Republican. I don't see it as a left versus right issue.
No, but they do. They see it as a W or an L, which I think is as clear a case of proof that this is a cult that you can possibly see because they've abandoned their family values, they've abandoned their fiscal conservatism, they've abandoned the small government that they've long championed. They've abandoned everything they hold dear in the name of Trumpism. But when it came to Epstein, and now listen, this is really kind of the files have just come out, so we don't know how they're going to react. But if past is prologue, they're going to just roll with it, and they're going to allow him to do it. And if there was ever a time for them to be able to use an issue to jettison him from their party, you would think it would be the Epstein files. But the
Yeah.
fact that they won't do it, the fact that even the rank and file voters that you and I interact with, not even the people that are in elected office, the fact that they can't bring themselves to go, okay, this is the line.
Mhm.
It shows that they're willing to go off the cliff with them. So then that brings me to the next point, which is how the fuck, excuse my French. I know you don't cuss a lot in your video, but how do we get I'm of the opinion that there is a significant segment of people who wear red hats in this country that are just lost. We're never going to get them. They are going to line up and drink the Flavor Aid. They're going to put on the sneakers. They're going to just go right off the cliff. But there has to be some of them. There have to be a few of them that we can reach.
Yeah.
How do we reach them?
That's a great question, man, because I have had a few people that really surprised me in my life that was pretty diehard behind him for a long time that have reached out to me to say that it's that they're starting to see through it, and I don't know if it was them watching my videos or anything as far as that goes, or if it just took them seeing it for themselves. But as far as how we reach them, I don't know any other way other than to just keep talking about it, keep it in the conversation, because they're desperately trying to change the conversation. A lot of them are right now, to Bad Bunny and other, things they can
Right.
find
Yeah.
to talk about. So I just feel like we have to keep the focus on there. And also, I just keep kind of circling back to, hey, y'all started this. You wanted to get to the bottom of it. You're the ones that
Mhm.
really wanted to get to the bottom of it. So why don't we all come together now and get to the bottom of it for these survivors and for all the victims? Because, man, I mean, I have sat and read some files that have just, I mean, it's a horrible. I feel like I need to take a shower after I'm done reading it. It's that
Oh,
disgusting. And
yeah. They're really, really detailed.
yes,
And the odd part about it is that when Roseanne Barr sat in that interview and said, "You know that they eat babies, and that's not a joke. That's true."
Mhm.
It's like it's that moment when you realize that the guy on the street corner with the world's going to come to an end sign on was right all along.
Yeah,
She was right. She just had the wrong fucking people.
that's a great point. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like they kind of had it right, at times. And yeah, I don't, but that's a great question. I ask myself that every day. Like, how do we reach them? Because I do feel like there's some, like you said, there's some that's lost and never going to come back. But I think also, I don't know how it is in your part of the world necessarily, but I do know around here there's a lot of people that just kind of goes to bat for this stuff because it's what everyone else goes to bat for, and they're just sort of, they're really
It's
kind
with
of
the go
apolitical.
with the flow.
Just go with the
Yeah.
flow. They're more apolitical people. Hell, half the people, I bet half the people in our comment section that really argues with us the hardest probably don't even vote. They probably don't even get out and get involved. But so I think I always said, like with my content, I'm probably never going to reach the diehard, cultist necessarily, but I'm trying to go for that person sitting at the Sunday dinner that's like down at the end, just kind of being quiet, and they're listening to all of it, they're taking it in, and then they're hearing my side is like coming from a different angle. That's who I've always said I'm trying to reach, is those people, like the ones that's kind of fence setting or just going with the flow because that's what Mama and Papa did, and that's huge around here, man. It's like if your grandparents did it. I've even had people say, "But man, this is what our granddads were," and I'm like, well, my granddad was two of them, 1913, 1916 is when they was born. That's a long time ago. They're not here anymore. And I have a feeling if they were, I'm not going to say they would be perfect in any way. I don't know where they would land, but I just know that everything that everything Donald Trump stands for is what my grandpas would have slapped me in the mouth for doing. It's like,
Exactly.
really.
Being rude, calling people names,
Mhm.
disrespecting women, all of it. It flies in the face of all of it. Now, I don't have to worry about. Well, I don't have to worry about is a wrong way of putting it. There's not a lot of work in my area. I live in a very blue area. I live in the Chicagoland area. My county is going to vote Democratic, probably 67, 72%, somewhere in that range. But your area,
Mhm.
how do we get, I mean, do you see events happening? Do you see groundwork happening so that areas like yours can see what we saw in Louisiana and Texas, where deeply red seats are being flipped blue by significant margins?
Well, we definitely had one here in Tennessee that really gave me a lot of hope. Afton Bain, she was able to flip a district that was 22 points for Trump before. She didn't win, but she was still able to swing it 14 points to the left. That was huge for Tennessee, and that's the district right above Nashville there. We're in Nashville. And so for her to pull that off was giving me a lot of hope. But then I'm also seeing a lot of younger people starting to step up and run. There's a girl running against Diana Harshbarger. Her name's Christy Burt. Then you got Michaela Barnett. She's running against Tim Burchett here in Tennessee. So there's a
Okay.
lot of people that are starting to step up and come forward. And here in Tennessee, we also have the Tennessee Three, which was Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson. There's a lot of good people out there on the ground, and I think you know, I think there's more progressive minded people here than we realize, and there's also just a lot of independent, sort of apolitical voters that I think's had enough. My uncle used to say to me all the time, he's like, a lot of these people will hold their nose and vote Democrat. They'll never admit it, but maybe they will in the end. And so I do when I Afton Bain's race, even though she didn't win it definitely gave me hope to see a district that red swing that far to the left.
Yes. I mean, like I said, what we saw in Louisiana and what we saw in Texas was kind of amazing from some of those districts. And I'm wondering how many of those are kind of hanging out there in the breeze, especially in that district in Louisiana where we just had that election. that was a district that Trump won heavily. The Democrat won handily this time around, and I guess the exit polling is showing, or the end result is showing that more Republicans actually voted in that election than Democrats, and the
Mhm.
Democrats still won big.
Mhm.
So that's telling me that we're beginning to see a little bit of fatigue with the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that fatigue carries. So with the stuff that you do, the content that you do, and the information that you put out there and that you read and the people that you interact with, what are you seeing for the midterms? Well, like I said, we're 9 months away, and we've got a long way to go. And then I want to talk to you about those, like the specific type of policy that we're talking about when it comes to your area, because like in my area, they're pushing really heavy for more progressives. The thought process is to swing further left rather than bring it back into the center, where I imagine in your area it would be, we want to go left, but more sort of a center left, as
Mhm.
to not freak out the far right people.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, but at the same time, someone like Afton Bay, and I keep going back to her because she just went for it. She just went Mom
Mhm.
Donnie. I mean, yeah, and that was something that really made me think here in Tennessee. Wait a minute, maybe there could be a change. And a lot of people, I mean, yes, there's always going to be those that says, "Well, hey, we can't go too far," but at the same time, I think there is so much fatigue going on that I think people are just like, you know what, we have to go ahead and swing it. So as far as your question about the midterms, I think if we have a free and fair election, I think Democrats are absolutely going to dog walk Republicans, honestly. Now, as far as here in my neck of the woods where I'm at, it's a bigger challenge. I realize we're kind of swimming upstream, but we definitely, like I said, we got a lot of good people here, and I'm seeing a lot of people that are just like, you know what, let's just go for it. I had Christy Burke on the channel, and she was just like, I'm going for it. I'm going to swing the way Afton Baines swung, because I've talked to them and I'm like, what are you all hearing? And they're like, we're hearing people telling us to go for it. And so,
Like
hopefully more people will.
this may be, I guess what I'm hearing is that this may be that rare window of opportunity where you can kind of experiment with candidates. You can go with a socialist candidate. You can go with
I
somebody
think
that's a
so.
little bit further left, because of the extreme amount of fatigue. That would be interesting to see if that's something that could be pulled off. So you don't see that happening. I mean, you're starting to see that. You talked about that one candidate. How
Mhm.
about those other candidates that are having success? Are they doing it more from a center left standpoint or from a far left standpoint?
No, they're the two I know are going more for the far
Or
left,
from the far left, even in
and
Tennessee.
even
Interesting.
in Tennessee. So I'm feeling like, okay, maybe people's had enough, because I think eventually, I still feel like eventually, like you said, there's got to be fatigue, and I just feel like a lot of these culture wars eventually have got to wear thin on people, and they have to realize that you might be getting all excited and burning your car hard or something, but it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
And as far as like you saying, how can we get through to them? As bad as I hate to say this, I almost feel like sometimes it just has to happen to them. And I mean, I really hate to say it that way, but
Yeah.
it's like when it happens to them, then they'll turn and start having a conversation with someone like me or you. You
Yeah,
know?
it's the people that are maybe Hispanic that voted for Trump and saw a spouse or a loved one get deported, or the farmers that voted for Trump. I was just doing a video talking about the agriculture crop out of Kentucky, and how
Mhm.
they had massive losses in 2025. I imagine Tennessee is no different.
Yeah.
Indiana felt it. The Heartland felt it. Um, I remember when about as left as your state got was Al Gore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
and
That's been a
and
while
people
back.
people people nowadays forget that Bill Clinton and Al Gore were from Arkansas and Tennessee.
Exactly.
I mean, it was, and Jimmy Carter was from Georgia. At
Yeah.
one point in time, Southern Democrats could win.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it is a bit of a long shot. We're going to see what could happen in states like Texas. I'm still not going to hold my breath on Texas. I'll believe Texas is red when Texas actually goes red.
Me
But
too.
in your part of the world, I got to imagine that there is some type of conversation going on about one of the newest controversies in the Trump administration, and that is their position on gun ownership and
Yeah.
carrying of guns.
Yes. Yeah, man, that's been as far back, talking about like growing up as a kid in the Reagan years, man. Going back then, I was always hearing in this part of the world, Democrats are going to take your guns. That's been one of the biggest talking points forever. And I don't know, man. Everything that's happened in Minnesota, and then seeing people suddenly say stuff like, "Well, you can't walk toward law enforcement with a gun." I mean, just some of the stuff I'm hearing people say, and I'm going, "Wait a minute, guys, you badly jumped the shark here," because we're in a place where I thought for sure. When I saw what happened to Alex Preddy, I thought, man, this will have to wake up some people around here. And I think it has some, but I just was really shocked at the people who rolled with that and started making excuses for it. And because guns is such a huge part of our culture down here. It
What
really
are
is.
you hearing anything? Are you hearing any pushback in your area
A little
against
bit, yeah.
Trump and
Like I
Trump
said,
and everything?
yeah, I have heard some people that I wouldn't expect to push back on it, but I just wish there was more of them. I
Yeah.
wish that it was one of those things like it's like, okay, come on, like everybody keeps speaking up about this because I think a lot of people. I don't know about you, but for me, a lot of people misunderstands me and where I'm coming from with it. I'm not against the Second Amendment. I believe in the right to bear arms and protect ourselves. Always have, but I've just always tried to talk common sense about it, and want to see common sense gun laws and safe storage laws, things like that. But I mean, as far as I grew up with bumper stickers around here that said, you'll get it from me when you pry it from my cold dead hands.
Yeah.
And it's like now you see somebody be took to the ground, their weapon took off of them, and then shot 10 times. And to me, if that don't wake you up, I don't know what could, because
Oh,
it's one of those things that Go ahead.
not just the action, but the reaction to it. Well, you can't have a gun. You can't
Yeah,
go walking around with a gun. You're not. It's against the law to take a gun to a protest. And
yeah,
I'm hearing this, and I'm going, wait a minute. What are you talking? I came. My father's family comes from that town in southern Indiana where I went to high school, and there were gun racks and pickup trucks in the high school parking lot,
yeah,
dozens of them. Yeah, I mean, people were walking around with guns all the time. And
yeah.
if any president ever said you can't have a gun,
Oh yeah,
that was it. Nobody was going to vote for them. Now they're like, well, maybe he's right.
yeah,
But here's what I'm seeing from it. They're saying maybe he's right because they think they're only going to take their guns.
exactly.
They're not
Yeah,
going to take my. We're on the same page. I voted for them. They're going to take the brown people's guns and the black people's guns and the immigrants' guns and the liberals' guns. So, and that's fine if they take their guns. Who gives a shit?
yeah. That's definitely how it feels, man. And it's crazy to me because I've tried to have so many conversations with people about guns in the past, and around here it's a very hot topic. It's one of those things you could really stir up a hornet's nest just by bringing the subject up. But to hear people say stuff like you can't have a gun at a protest are the same people that was all about defending Kyle Rittenhouse, you know.
Exactly.
And you're sitting there looking at that going, yeah. And the whole thing that got me was when they said he walked toward the officers with a gun. Well, he had one on him concealed. And he had a permit to carry it. He was legal. He walked toward him with a phone in one hand and the other hand up. He never touched his gun, never went for it at no point. So, I mean, for those of us that carry, we're always walking towards somebody with a gun. If you want to get technical about it, if we're walking around, we're walking around, towards somebody. So, what's really disturbing to me is the way that they're getting a hold of these narratives, and they're showing you videos. To me, it's the craziest thing ever. They're showing you videos of these things happening, and then Christy Nome is like narrating over top of it and telling you something that did not happen. And you're looking at it going, what the fuck? It's like how can people it's not lining up. What she's talking about is not lining up with what you're seeing on the screen.
They did the same thing with the footage of Renee Good when she was talking about how they were stuck in the snow and they were trying to push their car out of the snow, and she came along and aimed their car at them, and none of it's accurate. And it just it's one of the big problems that I have when I started by talking to you about, well, how do we reach these people? But I do a lot of content talking about these people are unreachable, and part of it is because I see them watch a piece of footage. I see them know what they're saying is false, but because they're on the same team, they're just going to go with it. Because you touched on it earlier. Maybe they're really apolitical, or they don't even vote. But it seems like they're rooting for a sports team, and all
Yep.
they care about is the W. We won.
Mhm.
We won the election. Our guys in power. Our policies are what's being enacted, and they don't care what the policies are, and they don't even realize how damaging the policies can be. How
Yeah.
damaging the policies can be to them. Like, so we were just talking about guns and how most of these people are probably like, well, they're not coming for my guns. But then there are other things that I'm sure is hitting your area in some way, shape, or form, like taking away ACA subsidies. How many people in the state of Tennessee or in your area are reliant on government supplements in order to get their damn health care?
Oh man, I mean, so many people that I know, like so many people in my life. And it's one of those things for the whole big beautiful bill. I remember I did a video a while back when we were talking about that and all the potential hospital closures we could see in this part of the world, and all the things that could end up falling down on people. And again, it goes back to me saying, it's going to end up having to happen to them. But the thing is, I don't want to see those things happen because I'm not here to try to own the Republicans or own the MAGAs. It's like I feel like, and there's a lot of people has this, well, let's just burn it down type of mentality. But if you do that, there's a lot of innocent people that's going to fall through the cracks. There's a whole lot of people that's going to look around and go, "How did I lose my health care? How did I lose these things?" Because they wasn't even paying attention. And I just think of a lot of people I know, and like their grandmother who never tunes into the news and never never pays attention to what's going on, and is going to look around one day and go, "Why can't I get the help I need?" And that's what's sad to me is just knowing how this is all going to this whole house of cards is going to collapse on them one day, and they did a lot of them ain't even going to see it coming.
Do you know anybody personally that right now can't afford to pay their health insurance?
Oh yeah, yeah, I do, and I've had people tell me they've went to the prescription shops and their prescriptions are higher and their insulin's higher and all kinds of things. Then you'll get online and you'll read conflicting reports about the numbers and stuff. But my daughter for a while she's not there anymore, but she worked in a pharmacy and she was talking about so many people coming in saying we can't afford things anymore. And so I just I'm seeing a lot of that, and people also. There's also a lot of this, even with you showing them, hey, this is happening to you. There's still a whole lot of, well, I don't think Trump would do that to me. I don't think they would do that to me. And even if you can show 'em- even if you could show him lighting their stuff on fire, they still would find a way to say, well, it wasn't him. And
These
it's
are the
sad.
same people that are these are the same people that believe him when says that gas is $1.98 while
Yeah,
they're paying $3.30 a gallon or
yeah.
$2.78 a gallon or whatever. Okay, it might be down, but it's not what the reality of it. Okay, so talking about health insurance, do you do you do content full time or do you do something else for a living?
I do. I'm full time content now.
Full time. So are you now self employed or do you still have employer based health insurance through like your spouse or something like that?
No, I'm still. This is it. This is what I do. But I
Is
do
it
have healthcare now.
right? You do have healthcare now, and it takes a bite, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
So we had our health insurance through the ACA website because we were getting health insurance through my wife's employer before the company went under. And we went to the ACA, and it was before we had monetized anything, and we were trying to figure out what our path was, and we were getting a subsidy. We were paying $960 a month, and we were getting $533 a month for the subsidy, and it was for us and our kid. And we then started to monetize and make enough money to where we wouldn't qualify for the subsidy. So taking the subsidy away from us was going to be meaningless anyway. But we're now paying $1,800 a month.
Mhm.
18. We were paying 960 something, and that was taking a bite. $1,800 a month. $1,800 a month for a bronze United Healthcare plan.
Mhm.
We're still paying $1,000 a month for this medication, and a $500 a month for that medication until we hit our deductibles, and we still have all of the co-payments and whatnot, what have you. When people ask me if you could be president of the United States for one day and they would give you unlimited power to get one thing enacted, my biggest no brainer is universal health care. Because, in my opinion, it is the one thing that would help every single human being in the country for the positive instantaneously overnight.
Yes.
And I don't understand. Listen, you could hate gay people and like a Republican because they hate gay people, and you can be racist and like a Republican because they're racist, or you think that you're a billionaire in waiting, so you don't agree with taxing billionaires. What I don't understand for the life of me is how anybody can continue to argue to keep a for-profit healthcare system that screws people over like this system does, Like the working class people in small towns that vote for this guy, that are blue collar people that are either farmers or coal miners or factory workers who can barely afford to take their kid to the hospital, and yet they fight, or to the doctor, and they fight tooth and nail to keep a system that's fucking them. It is another part of that cult mentality I don't understand. And I find that it gets deeper and deeper ingrained the redder you go.
Yeah.
Southern Indiana, it is ingrained in them in Southern Indiana that we have got to keep this for-profit healthcare system. We do
Yeah.
not want the government in our healthcare. Half your goddamn family's on Medicaid.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm sure you see a lot of that.
Oh, I do, man, and it's so crazy to me. I'm with you 100% on that, man. That's one thing we're right there together on, because I've never it's never made sense to me how that people could still argue against it in 2026. It's like I don't understand it, and I don't understand the people that are still making the argument about the minimum wage shouldn't be raised. I know
Mhm.
people that I was having arguments with 20 years ago that's still saying the same exact thing. And I'm like, but you do realize we're in a completely different world now. That was a long time ago. And minimum wage here in Tennessee is $7.25 an hour. You know, it's like,
So there's no state minimum wage. It's just whatever the federal is, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
seven.
Okay.
So yeah, 7.25 here, which there's some better paying jobs in factories in different places, but there's a lot of small towns where I'm at where a lot of it's fast food. There's and I'm not knocking where I live or nothing like that, but a lot of the places where I'm at, I kind of call them almost like copy and paste sort of towns. It's like you drive through Appalachia, you come, all of a sudden you'll hit a straight and you'll see a Walmart, a McDonald's, a Wendy's, like that. And then
Mhm.
you go to the next place and that's it. That's all that's there. Or you'll have the coal mines. Coal's huge around here, and so because I'm right on the border of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. So I actually was born over here in Tennessee, and I've lived over here for the last 26 years. But I went to school over in Kentucky, and my dad drove a coal truck most of his life. He was home every day, but coal was huge and still is. But it's one of the only things left for people to do that's a good paying job. And then a lot of it's just retail and fast food in a lot of places. You might have a factory here and there, but I just see so much of that, and have for so long. And the people that are still, anytime something comes up, they'll always shout, "Well, who's going to pay for that?" But then I'm like, I would rather my tax dollars go to help with healthcare, and I don't care about someone's political views. I'd like to see people taken care of, and that be a weight off of them. I don't understand why that we're a country that's still arguing against it.
So how many coal mine jobs have been lost in your region in the last 20, 30 years? Because I know there's been a contraction of coal mine jobs. I mean, I've seen a bunch of them get lost in Southern Indiana.
Yeah.
What's it like by you? Is it still
I,
going strong, or
no, not
is it a
not not
dying
like
industry?
not like it was. Definitely a dying industry. Not like it was. It's always kind of been something that's came and went around here. It'd have a boom for a little bit and then drop back down, and that was how it was forever. And then Trump come along and was like, I'm going to bring back coal, and that's another thing that really got people around here fired up, was when he went to West Virginia, put on the hard hat, and was like, I'm going to bring back coal. I mean, people really got behind him over that, but then it didn't come back on the level he said it was going to at all. And it's definitely a dying industry for sure still.
Are there any opportunities for the people that work in one of the things that we experienced in Southern Indiana is when the coal mine shut down, there was a strike in the coal mine that lasted like 11 years. It was crazy. But there were no other opportunities. There was no chance for them to learn a new trade and go do something else, because there was no something else to do. Like you said, it was either coal mine or fast food, or if you were one of the rare people that could get a job at the damn Sunbeam warehouse humping a forklift
Yeah,
for maybe $9 an hour if you were lucky.
yeah.
Are
I've
there
been
just
there.
no
I
other
drove the
opportunities
forklift.
by you, right?
Do what?
There's just no other opportunities by you, right?
I mean, like I said, there's a couple of factories here and there, like
Yeah,
where
but
you
yeah,
can
it's
go.
just not enough to compete for the masses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and factories are closing around here. One of the last factories that I worked at was a medical facility where we wrapped surgical kits, and
Oh, okay.
then they was pretty much the articles that came out about it. It shut down after I left, but the articles that came out about it was pretty much saying it was Trump's tariffs, and they got all of their goods, I think, from China or Mexico, one or the other, and so. that I saw that place close, and that place had been here around where I'm at. That place had been here for 40 years. It was something
Yeah.
that people have done forever, and so there's so many factories shutting down. I'm seeing a lot of that, and we'll see kind of a fast food place get opened back up in its place. And that was one of the most insulting parts about it to me was I was talking to some people that I worked with there, and they were telling me about it. And they were said, when it came down to the end, they were told ahead of time it's shutting down. We just got a few more weeks. We're going to be here. They had a job fair, and one of my friends said when they went to the job fair that the jobs they had for them was fast food. So it's like trade this factory job where you're making like $15 an hour and drop over here and you might get lucky and get 11 around here.
Eh, in southern Indiana, one of the industries that actually replaced some of the other industries that were going out, and this is my fear that we might see more of, especially if the Republicans retain power, is prisons started popping up.
Hmm.
If you can't employ people, somebody can make money off of incarcerating them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the prison guard job became the coveted job of the area. That was the best job you could have with the best benefits. And as long as we kept locking people up, everybody still had a job to have. And it was just like, man, really, that's what we're going to do. We're going to swap factories and car plants and coal mines for fucking prisons.
Yeah.
It just that's not how you grow a society, man.
Not at
It
all.
isn't. The fact that we have 25% of the world's prison population here in the United States is just insane. See, you talked about you go around the country. What is it you do when you go around the country?
I've went to several protests. I've spoken at a protest last year out in LA. And
Okay.
I've been to Sacramento, some protests out there, and just traveling around seeing places. I'm in a place now where I can, and I got invited out to LA, which was a real trip for someone like me because it's such a. I mean, Knoxville, Tennessee is the big town for me, so
Right.
it
Yeah.
it was crazy being there. But I had a good time and just met so many nice people and people that were. That were understanding of someone like me. That's what was really, because that where I'm at. I mean, people demonize California as something fierce, like it's like if you go there, it's the biggest hellhole in the world. And then you
Mhm.
get there, and like there's all sorts of opportunities everywhere. You're looking around, and all the people are nice, and I'm like, what are they talking about? When I was at that protest in LA, everywhere I went, people were so good to me, and a lot of people would recognize who I was and stuff. I spoke at the protest, and I would have people walk up and talk to me, and they were fascinated by what goes on here in Tennessee. And I said to them, to me, it's. I mean, I realize that the blue states like California saves us. Speaking of that, Gavin Newsom sent people out here to help with the snow that we had, and that kind of fell on a lot of deaf ears around here. People didn't really want to hear that, but it's going out to these protests and talking with people. I've said this on other shows I've been on and talking with friends. One of the things I'm most fascinated by when I go to these protests is I'll bump into someone who's like 70-year-old or older, and they were protesting in the 60s. And they'll say to me, man, I was here in the late 60s, early 70s. I was protesting, holding up the same kind of sign. And I thought that there was going to be a victory. And one guy said to me, he said, man, he said, it was much more fun being 20 in the 70s than it is being 70 in the 20s, you know, because it's like, it's just crazy that everything's kind of circled back around.
We're fighting the same fights that we were. I mean, it's one of the things that I talk about in some of my content is Roe v. Wade got passed. When I was born, my entire life, women have had federal protections
Yeah.
until Donald Trump. That the damage he's doing is substantial for sure. I'll bet that you hear some pretty negative things about my area in your part of the world as well.
Oh, Chicago, yeah. It's Chicago and California. That's like the two biggest villains. I don't know which it's like the Joker and Darth Vader. It's like,
Right.
that's how it's pitched to us anyway.
Always. Chicago. Listen, Chicago has historically been used by a lot of different areas in the South as an example of what not to do. And to me, it's always seemed to be rooted in the fact that there are a lot of black people in Chicago, and
Mhm.
that becomes the boogeyman for people in predominantly white rural areas. They always talk about black people running amok, and look what happened when you gave them their freedoms and their vote and all of that. And that's one of the things that Chicago's always been spotlighted for. Conversely, I understand that it's not right always to do. Whenever many of us in the North talk about people in the MAGA world. We tend to put a Southern twang in our voice when we talk about it. And when I do that, I have drawn the ire of people from Appalachia. About 2.5 years ago, I was talking about Southern conservatives that are constantly voting against their best interest. They've been living below the poverty line for generations, and they keep voting for the people that keep them below the poverty line. And this gentleman from Appalachia just lit me up 7 ways from Sunday and said, you're insulting Appalachia. And I said, well, I never even mentioned Appalachia, man.
Mhm.
I go, yeah, I'm talking about people that are in my own family and in towns that I lived in and that I still have family in that I love deeply. I have a sign on my wall. It's a metal sign that has a silhouette of Illinois and a silhouette of Indiana next to it, and it says "Home is on both sides of the border."
Mhm.
I love Indiana. I love the people of Indiana. I love the landscape of Indiana. I just hate the fucking politics. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I do tend to put a Southern twang on it. It
Mhm.
does. It's definitely not indicative of all Southern people. But I find, anecdotally anyway, when I'm arguing with a Trumper, more times than not, they sound like you.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is why when somebody sounds like you, people automatically think that you got that flag behind you, you got a bandana on,
Mhm.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That you and
All the time.
I present as MAGA.
Yeah, oh, we do. And I get that comment, man, so many times. I've had so many people say, "Man, I have scrolled past your videos forever and didn't stop on them because I thought it was going the other way." Even the wrestler Kevin Nash talked about me on his podcast because I done a video about him and someone sent it to him, and he was like, "Dude, this guy's got a flag behind him and he's wearing a bandana and he looks like a totally different kind of cat." But there's a lot of people out there that's like that. I was telling you right before we logged on that I had an uncle. He passed away back in 2020, and man, you favor him so much. You two could pass for brothers if you were standing side by side. It's crazy. And if he was alive today and had been in good health, I've always said he could have been on here, and he would have just looked like another Southern redneck. Just you with the Southern twang. And people sees that, but that's one of the reasons why when I first started doing this, and I kind of fell into it on an accident. There was a country singer named Tyler Childers. He's from Southeast Kentucky, and he put out an album called "Long Violent History," where he was talking. It was during 2020, and he put it out about the all the police brutality and all the protesting that was going on. And he put out this album. It was the song "Long Violent History" was extremely thought provoking, and I loved it. And it was during the pandemic, when we were all home, and I'd been a musician for like 25 years and done that most of my life. And so I'm sitting at home with no gigs to play, and a buddy of mine was letting me do like some DJ on a radio station, but I couldn't talk politics. But it kind of helped me learn how to talk, as far as this goes. And I just defended that album. I was like, this is why are you all bashing this dude and saying that he went woke just because he's asking you to think? What's so wrong about that? And I remember I was sitting there when I recorded the very first video like this that I did. I remember almost thinking, just for a split second, I thought, should I take off the bandana? Should I try to look more presentable? Just for a second I did. It was like, should I try to maybe dress up for what I'm about to say? And then I thought, screw it. No, I'm not going to, because there is so many people around here that thinks like me. It's just they're not as loud sometimes, and there's sometimes in situations where they can't be. But it was one of those moments where, after that, I would have so many people say to me, "Man, I scrolled past your videos." I had a black lady reach out to me one time, and she was like, "I owe you an apology," and that was the title of her message, was "I owe you an apology." And she just came right out and said, she's like, "I have never wanted to hear a white dude talk." She's like, "I've never wanted to hear that." And she said, "So I kept seeing your videos on my For You page." And she said, "I kept going, why is this guy appearing?" And she said, "I just kept swiping and swiping." And she said, "Then I heard you talk, and she said, I just owe you an apology." I was like, "Really, you don't?" I was like, "You don't at all, because I totally understand why you wouldn't want to hear a white guy talk."
Exactly. The guy I had on last week. So this series that we're doing now, this live series on Monday, this is a brand new series for me. I just started it. Last week was my first episode, and I had David Clayton on Empathy Tour.
Oh, I love that guy.
Right. And I mean, he starts every video with "Don't scroll, I'm not MAGA.
Yeah.
I have," right, because he's the same way. He
Hmm.
presents his MAGA. And there's Gunny Speaks, the guy with the motorcycle and the big flag.
Hmm.
He's same way. People mistake him all the time. I did. The very first time I ever did a video about Gunny, I'm like, look at this fucking asshole yelling at people. And I totally mistook him for who he
Yeah.
was. owed him apology, and we became mutuals afterwards. But it, you know, when you look like I do, and you're in a town like we're in, where it's a little bit more red than blue, people will tend to open up to you thinking you are something that you're not. And so, like, I remember when Obama got reelected, I was in the front yard cleaning up leaves, and there was a guy down at about a block or so away that always saw me working outside, and I always saw him going by on his motorcycle. And he stopped by. It was the day after the election, and I'm working on some leaves in the yard, and he just stopped in front of the house, and he goes, "Well, what do you think about that? 4 more years of that goddamn socialist." And I just lifted my head up and I went, "Yep." And I listened to him talk for a few minutes. And when he got done talking, I looked at him and I went, "I'm kind of glad he got reelected. Lord knows I voted for him." And oh, the look, he turned white as a ghost
Yeah,
and drove
yeah.
off on his motorcycle. It's like, dude, don't assume because of what I look like, I share your values. I don't
Oh, I
share
know.
any of your goddamn values.
I've had people do me that way too, man. I've had people sit down on a bar stool beside of me and just rattle off a bunch of shit, and I'm looking at them going, "Why are you saying that to me?" Like, and I've seen a couple of people's face go white in those moments when they realize, because people, around where I'm from, I played in dive bars for years playing music, and so I'm up there doing like, Waylon Jennings and Leonard Skinner Allman Brother covers and stuff like that, and I'm doing that kind of thing, and those people would have beers with me. Well, when I was, paid to be on a stage doing that, I didn't get on a political bullhorn. I just played my music. And so then all of a sudden, I can't count the messages I got when I started doing this of people going, "Dude, wait a minute. You're not real. You're not for real, or you didn't really mean this, do you? Surely not." And I still have people approach me and they're like, "Man, is this for real? Is this some kind of gimmick?" Because they know I've even had people, they know I watch wrestling and they're like, "Dude, is this some kind of wrestling gimmick you're trying to do?" And I was like,
Right?
"No, no, it's not. I mean, I've always thought this way, and I've got Republican friends that can back me up on it. They might not like to, but I've got Republican friends I've argued with around here forever. And it's funny, every now and then I saw a couple of them in the comment section defending me, going, "No, he's really always been this way." Like, but yeah, there's a lot of, I hate, sometimes I hate when it happens, because sometimes people can say things and I can kind of let it roll off of me, but then sometimes people will go, hard in the paint with their bigotry or something and just think I'm going to laugh at it, and I hate those moments.
Has your music slowed down or increased with
Oh,
you moving
slow,
into content creation?
slow completely. It's only online. There's no bar.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's no bar around here that would have me. Which, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't fit anyway, especially now. But no, I mean online. I have a good online presence, and I get more views now on the songs I put out online than I ever did before. So it's it works that way. But as far
It-
as going out and playing, I do it occasionally. People invite me to events, and occasionally I do. But I've actually, I don't know, it's kind of like in a way, and I've sort of, it took me a little while to get used to this, honestly, but like now, I kind of view my content as songs. It's almost like, I used to write songs all the time, and I wrote one, a week or two ago. I wrote one called Minnesota. It's the first one I'd written in like 6 months or longer. I hadn't written one in a long time, and I think it's just because all of my creative energy now is talking about these things,
is
and
doing content. Yeah.
and doing that. So it's been a growing and learning process for me, because at first it was kind of like, what the hell? I stumbled into this. I didn't, when it first flew up on TikTok and I had a video get 1 million views, I was going, what in the world? It was like, it totally baffled me at first, because
Hmm.
I was just, I first had my TikTok channel. I just had like the very first, I just had some, you know, like I'd be in the studio recording a song, and I'd record me playing the lead break, and I'd put that up there as a video. And then I started talking, and it just all of a sudden, matter of fact, I left TikTok alone for a couple of days and didn't go back to it. And then when I opened it up, I had like 99 plus notifications, and I had like all these messages and comments, and boom. And I was like, wait, and it wasn't a song I wrote, it was just me talking, and so that was definitely something that took me a little bit of getting used to, but now I'm comfortable with it, and I enjoy it.
I remember when TikTok started. I think that all of us probably first started to build our audience on TikTok,
Yeah.
and then we found success. You're doing extraordinarily well on YouTube, which we'll touch on in a minute. I remember getting on TikTok. I got on TikTok. I've told this story before. I received a 30-day ban on Facebook and a lifetime ban on Twitter within 10 minutes of each other.
Wow.
And yeah, I was pissed off. It was December 10th, 2020. and I posted a meme on Facebook that caught me a 30-day ban, and I was aggravated. And so I went over to Twitter. I was sitting in my bed scrolling through Twitter, and I found a post from Laura Ingraham, and I replied to her, and I called her a hag. And they banned me for life from Twitter for that. And
Wow.
I was fucking fuming, and my wife said you should start a TikTok account, and that's the day I got on TikTok. And I remember when TikTok blew up for me, and I had a couple of thousand followers, and I didn't think I'd even have that many, right? I mean, I got a face for radio, for fuck's sake. I don't script anything out. I'm nothing to look at. And I did a video in my car, in my truck. I remember it was winter because there was snow outside on the ground, and I was wearing a hoodie. And I vaguely remember saying something to the effect of I was driving, I had the phone up there, and I said, if one more goddamn Trumper tells me to do my own research, I'm going to fucking snap. I said, everybody keeps telling me to do my research, and they don't do their own research. And this eye is starting to twitch. And for about a week, I couldn't pronounce anything with the letter R in it. And I just went off on a fucking rant. And that post garnered me 18,000 followers overnight,
Wow.
130,000 followers that week, and then it was off to the races. And the next thing you know, I've got a post that's got 32 million views, and I've got a post with 24 million views, and it was
Yeah.
off and running. I didn't really focus my time and effort on YouTube until I had built a following over there accidentally, and they started doing all kinds of, you know, content violations and bans and whatnot. And we'll talk about YouTube in a minute, but you're having issues with TikTok right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm having trouble getting in it. Like I don't know why this is happening to me, and I've not met anybody else that has this problem. So at first it popped up like, you got to accept the terms and conditions. So I would hit agree. And then a little while later it would pop up again, accept the terms and conditions. I'd hit agree. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like I would go to log into TikTok and it would just be like the login. I would log in, and when I would enter my password, which has been the same forever, I would get like a notification like we're going to send a code to your phone, and then I try that, and then it takes me back to either back to the home screen or log in and try it again, or back to accept the terms and conditions. I don't know what's going on with it, man. It's like the craziest thing. And before that, I was really I watched TikTok every day. I was still reposting people's videos, liking people's videos, but I reached a point where I just kept getting shadow banned. I would post a video, it would just sit there all day at zero and won't go nowhere. Or, it might have 10 views and like two comments. And like you said, there was videos I had that would have, 2 or 3, 5 million views before, and, thousands of comments. And that started happening. I started getting community guideline violations like crazy. I got kicked out of the creator fund thing. And that was weird because like what was odd about that one for me is that I had a video get a community guideline violation, and then they came back and said that it didn't violate the standards and that the video was completely restored. And then I got a message saying I was kicked out of the creator fund for that video getting the community guideline violation.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I was cleared on that. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I've been having trouble, and I've tried to tell people. I did make a video on YouTube talk about this. In one of my videos, I brought it up that if anyone's tried to reach out to me there or whatever, I'm just having no luck getting in it at the moment. And I know you and I had first struck up our conversation there, and that's why I was like, I gotta get to Tom so that he'll know where I'm at, because I was like, I don't really think I've ghosted him now.
Have
But
you have you reached out to Aaron at Go Live Vegas?
no, I've not.
I'm going to send you their TikTok account. I'm going to send you maybe his cell phone number. I'm going to see if he lets me do that. What they are is they are a TikTok agency. They're the company that keeps
Okay.
getting back all of the, like, Legal Dad and Hawk, everybody that gets their account banned. They
Mhm.
keep getting them back. So what TikTok did is they started working with these agencies so that TikTok could improve their systems and improve their relations with their customers, but through these agencies. So the agencies sign you up, and the agencies get paid by TikTok for you to bring their problems to them, so that TikTok doesn't have to deal with you, they deal with the agency.
Okay.
And this guy, Aaron, he got Chasing Oz's account back and Legal Dad's back, and you name it, all these people. He's working on trying to get my main.
I
My
was about
main
to
was a
ask
million
that.
and a half. Yeah.
So where are you now on TikTok as far as you got you got the new account? How many followers have you been able to gain back?
102,000.
Okay.
102,000. So I mean, I had the 1.5 million. They banned it back in August. That's when I really started to focus on YouTube a lot. I
Mhm.
had my YouTube channel for years. I posted some landscape stuff on it, but it just kind of sat there, right?
Mhm.
And so when TikTok started to fuck up, I started to focus more on YouTube. And even though TikTok for me right now, they won't give me back the main account, but I'm not catching community guideline violations anymore. And they reached out to me 3 weeks ago and asked me if I wanted to be back in the creator reward program, and now they're paying me for fucking views again.
Wow.
So it's like a weird turnaround for me since American ownership has come on. And the
Mhm.
guy that Aaron that I'm talking to you about, he deals with TikTok every day. That's his job, and he says that even though it was purchased by right wing nut jobs, they still sunk a lot of money into it and they want it to make money. So they don't want to ban everybody. They want people creating videos. They're trying to fix all of those things. I'll get you hooked up with him so
I
you could
appreciate
try
that.
and help on that aspect.
Yeah.
But from a YouTube standpoint, you got to be appreciating what you've been able to do on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. What happened is around the time I was having trouble with a couple of years ago, I started having the trouble with TikTok and getting suppressed all the time. The YouTube started catching on, and I just kind of went, "Well, it's catching on." It's almost like it's like you're trying these different platforms, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, the YouTube started catching on, and I just rolled with it. It was one of those things like, well, and for me, it was. I've always told people too, like YouTube or any of these apps, honestly, could have absolutely screwed me for the rest of my life, and I would have never known. Because if an app had sent me like $20 for a video, I'd have been like, "Yay, I made $20!" Like,
Right.
they absolutely, because I've played music, and you put your music on Spotify, no matter how many plays you get. I used to get like these little checks. The checks used to come in the mail like for the music I put on Spotify. I remember one year I got 47 cents. So it's like I remember like the first time I was like, "Whoa, I made $100!" I was like, "Holy crap!" So yeah, it's crazy because I just kind of went with well, YouTube's catching on, but I've heard a couple other people say that their TikTok kind of hit the opposite once this. I've heard both stories. I've heard like you just said that yours come back around, and then I've heard other people say mine hit the bottom. So at the moment, I'm just having that glitch that I can't. It's like every time I try to log in, it keeps asking me to accept the terms and conditions, which I went ahead and did, and that notification keeps popping up. And every time I try to scroll to the video, it keeps happening to me, or it logs me out, and I've just been so frustrated with it, trying to get back in it. As far as I know, the account's still there.
It is.
Um,
I just
okay,
watched the video of yours 5 minutes before I came on.
okay,
The last video that you did, it's still there. Everything is still up and operational. You just
mhm,
got to be able to get into it. See, for me, when YouTube started to take off, I was like, okay, well, here's another platform that I can maybe gain some traction on. But it wasn't until my wife looked into the monetization that we realized that you could actually, I never thought in a million years I'd be able to actually make a living off of doing this. But YouTube is what has afforded us the ability to make a living doing it because
yeah,
YouTube's revenue sharing is so incredibly generous
hmm,
that it has literally replaced her salary and is now our almost sole source of income.
yeah,
Now I am monetized on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now, but it's so small at the current point in time. We couldn't live off of it.
hmm,
YouTube is what's keeping everything going. So I mean,
yeah,
my loyalty right now certainly rests with this platform for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's how it is for me. Like YouTube's the main thing, but my Facebook, it's weird. Like my Facebook sat there forever and wouldn't go anywhere really, and then all of a sudden, I think I was around like maybe 70,000 followers, and then all of a sudden it went to 100, and then it jumped to 200 really quick, and now I'm at like 220, and so
Right
that
on.
started picking up all of a sudden out of nowhere. I used to have more. Facebook was almost as bad as TikTok for me for a while, where I just kept getting suppressed and stuff on there. But then all of a sudden, it did good. At the moment, I've kind of been, YouTube's the main thing I focus on. But then, I'll post to Facebook. It's doing pretty well at the moment, so automatically it will just post to Instagram and Threads because you can do it all from the same app, and just throw it to all different
Repurpose,
places. Do what?
repurpose.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
repurpose, and I hate repurpose all at the same time.
I know what you mean.
It glitches on me, and I've had experiences where I've logged in and I've been in the middle of scheduling videos, and then all of a sudden I get logged into some other person's account.
Yeah,
Like it's some woman's account, and I have full access to her Instagram, and I'm like, whoa. You know, I
That's
log
fine.
out right away.
Yeah.
But repurpose is a fantastic tool for anybody out there creating content that isn't aware of it. It really does allow you to be across the platforms pretty effortlessly.
Mhm.
So I figured you were doing kind of the same thing, but
Yeah, I also focus on Substack. I write some over there, and I
oh,
post
okay,
content there on Substack and on Bluesky. So that's kind of where I've been hanging out. But YouTube's where I keep my attention because it's and I saw a video you made where you was talking about like that feeling of it's going to fall out from under us.
yeah,
I feel that way because of just all the stuff we've seen happen across social media, with a platform really being good for people at one point and then the bottom getting jerked out. So, it's one of those moments because I grew up poor too, like really, and struggled most of my life, and so it's one of those moments where it's like, oh damn, like you're just anytime you hear of somebody, you think of like someone like Elon buying something, you
right,
know, you
yeah.
immediately get nervous.
You just hope that YouTube holds out and maintains the kind of platform that they've been. How old are you, man?
I'm 45. I'll be 46 in May.
45. So you're just a pup. You're a pup.
Well, what's funny, my beard went white when I was like 30. Like I was one of those people. I started going, believe it or not, man, I had some gray hair in grade school. Like the kids behind me in the class used to poke fun at me, and so I started going gray real early. It was one of those moments. But yeah,
I
I'll
embrace my gray now. When people talk about my big gray beard, I'm like, hey, I earned every one of these gray hairs,
yeah,
man.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. So listen, man. Before we wrap up, listen, most everybody's probably already knows where to find you. You have a hell of a following, but where can everybody find you?
So I'm here on YouTube. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Substack, and I've also got a Patreon. So the
How's that
Patreon
going
is
for you?
it's actually going really well. And one thing I've kind of been doing there, uh, that's kind of been catching on and people are enjoying. I talk about other things. I'll make videos talking about music or talking about boxing or reviewing a movie or reviewing a book or whatever. I'll do that, and then I'll sit down and I'll record like a show that's on Patreon, and I chop up those videos and put them on YouTube, so the patrons kind of get it first, and they get to see the unedited version because it'll be me sitting there like, okay, that was the end of that video. Now let's go to the next one. And I kind of bring them in that way. And then on YouTube members only, I kind of do the same thing with, just content that's not necessarily like today. I put out a video of me talking about the Thrilla in Manila, just talking about some boxing. And I've been, because I really, talking this stuff day in and day out, I'm always telling my audience to take care of their mental health and, do things. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to be sitting watching boxing. Why not just talk about it with them? Why not just talk about some music? So I've kind of been trying to do that, and that's kind of where I've been steering on my Patreon, and it's been good for me really, and it's been fun with the audience.
And what's your Patreon name there?
It's Tennessee Brando. I've got it. If we're both live at the same time on YouTube, it's in the description on my
Right
videos.
on. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Listen, man, if you're ever in Chicago, if there's ever something going on where you get called in for a protest or you're just visiting, you let me know. We'll get together. Obviously,
absolutely, man.
you're going to have to do a shot of Malort. That's just, I don't make the rules, I
All
only
right.
enforce them. So, it's vile, it's disgusting. It's like drinking gasoline, but it's a rite of passage here in Chicago.
Man, I've drunk everything but gasoline, so it's it's fine. That's something too. I'll go somewhere and someone will say, "You got to have a shot of this," or "You got to have this burger," or whatever, and I'm like, "I'm there." You
I
know,
appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Listen, I'm going to reach out to Aaron when we get off of this.
I appreciate
And
that,
I'm
man.
gonna
'Cause
I'm
I
gonna
do.
tell him that I'm gonna try and get his information to you, so
Yeah,
hopefully he can begin helping you.
I appreciate that so much, man. Because that is that is the place that so many of us started, and I've talked to so many people. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of creators I really love and follow over there, and I would
It's
like
a
to be able to gain some traction again.
it's addictive, first of
Yeah,
all. I mean, that's why we're
it
all
is.
we're all on it. Is it with all of the headaches and the problems that app has had, we're all still on it because we all love it.
Yeah,
We really do. We just wish they would fix the problems.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, hey, I appreciate the time, man.
Man, I appreciate you anytime. And you got to come on my show because I know people would love it. Would love to see us
You
again.
you let me know, brother.
All right. Sounds great.
We'll talk to you.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.